Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. Thanks for tuning in. Ham Talk Live will be on the air shortly. Please stand by. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you by Tower Electronics. For connectors, cables, and more, visit them at a hamfest near you or call 920-435-2973 or online at pl-259.com.
It's Ham Radio with Neil Rapp. Here we go. Welcome to Ham Talk Live. Call in, let's talk. Neil's your guy. Ham Talk Live. Here we go on Ham Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone. Coming to you live, not from Dayton anymore, which is kind of a bummer. It's Ham Talk Live, episode number 116. amateurradio.com, recorded live on Thursday, May 24th, 2018. I am your host, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ham Talk Live. Tonight we're joined by Matt Thomas, W1MST, the founder and managing editor of amateurradio.com, and we'll take your calls live in just a few minutes. Well, yeah, I'm home from Hamvention. Last week was our live Hamvention Eve episode with weather, traffic, parking, and more, and if you missed that, it's still online. You can listen at hamtalklive.com or on any of the podcast outlets. But we would like to hear from you about that episode and about next year. So we'd like to know, do you want another show next year that has all the information like we did this time, all the Hamvention conditions the night before all in one place? Or would you rather go back to the interviews and taking calls and telling stories about Hamvention? So let us know on our polls. We've got a poll on Facebook and one on Twitter. So you've got a few more days to vote on there. Please let us know, and even put some comments in there if you have something specific. We'd like to know what to plan for next year. So if that was helpful to you, let us know. If it was not, let us know, and we'll take a look at those and figure it out. If you don't do Facebook or Twitter, you can email us. Just email us at survey@hamtalklive.com, and we'll read the emails there too. So I'd like to hear from you about that. Well, get your questions ready to go about blogging and amateurradio.com, and after the interview, you can give us a call. I'll go ahead and give you the phone number. It's 812-NET-HAM1, 812-638-4261. Or you can call us on Skype. Our Skype name is Ham Talk Live. You can also tweet us. We're at Ham Talk Live on Twitter, so we'll be looking for your submissions throughout the show. So I'll be back with Matt right after this word from Tower Electronics right here on Ham Talk Live. This episode of Ham Talk Live is brought to you in part by Tower Electronics. Tower Electronics has been the Ham's dime store since 1978. When you need connectors, mobile and handheld antennas, cables, or adapters, visit Scott or Jill at a Hamfest near you. Or you can order online at pl-259.com or call 920-435-2973. Stock up on those supplies like PL259 and N connectors, SMA adapters, audio cables, soldering supplies, mobile antennas, and ham sticks. Their silver-plated N connectors are even used on the International Space Station. Tower Electronics carries MFJ, Comet, Daiwa, OPEC, Workman, and Ham Pro products. And don't miss their 0% off sale going on now. Tower Electronics, online at pl-259.com. Proud to sponsor this episode of Ham Talk Live.
This is your announcer, Andy Morrison, K9AWM. Why else would I be talking like this? You're listening to Ham Talk Live with Neil Rapp.
Thanks to Scott and Jill at Tower Electronics for sponsoring the show tonight to help bring you Ham Talk Live. You can give them a call. Their number, 920-435-2973. Or visit their website, pl-259.com, and tell them you heard it on Ham Talk Live. It's good to see them over at Hamvention and catch up with them. And got Hammy out there for a while and got some pictures and gave away some T-shirts. So that was great. And thanks to our new Hammy. Now, last year's Hammy is graduating high school tonight. That's Tyler in 7TMW. But Teresa was our Hammy this year. And so if you're listening, Teresa, thank you again for a great job. And we look forward to hopefully getting her back next year. So we'll give that a shot. Well, tonight our guest is Matt Thomas, W1MST. He's the managing editor at amateurradio.com. Matt lives in Maine and has been a ham for 17 years and enjoys VHF work, chasing amateur radio satellites, which is something I've been getting into lately. Software-defined radio and building with Arduinos and other microcontrollers. So, Matt, thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Neil, thank you so much for having me on the show. You know, we were talking before it started. I was kind of embarrassed. I've never made the 16-hour trek from Maine to Dayton, and I feel real bad about that because it sounds like you guys had a lot of fun.
Well, we did have a lot of fun, and there were so many things. I could go on and on about things that just absolutely went totally wrong this weekend. The audio problems, and my girlfriend's grandmother had a stroke right in the middle of one of the forums, and we had to go take care of that. But luckily, the hospital they took her to was in Dayton. So it is just crazy how this stuff works sometimes. But so we made it through all of that and still managed to have a good time. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, you have to go. We had some craziness going on over at the Newsline booth with all these "I'm not Will Banks" buttons and all this craziness, but it was fun, and we had Hammy going around. Hammy's the pig mascot of the show, and so Hammy was going around giving out T-shirts and stickers and stuff and getting pictures taken, and she even made the newspaper, the Xenia Gazette.
Really?
They got a picture of her going around greeting everybody and promoting the show. So it was a lot of fun. So
I'll have to check it out.
You got to put it on the list of things
Absolutely.
to do. Well, now at amateurradio.com, you cover all of this stuff and more. And it's been around for 20 some years. So tell us how this all got started.
Sure. You know, I got involved in the early 2000s and kind of saw an area that needed some extra attention. I felt like there was a lot of great bloggers out there that kind of they were kind of blogging to themselves, really. Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of promotion. And what I wanted to do is kind of bring all those great voices together in one place and kind of take advantage of an economy of scale where we could kind of have one big promotion and let everyone's voice be heard in one place. And I think it's worked pretty well. We have, probably 36 bloggers who contribute right now. They're very generous with writing for us and allowing us to share their writing. And we've just continued to grow, and I've been very blessed by that.
So tell us about some of these regular contributors. I know I see several of them on Twitter a lot. Tell us about some of your regulars and some of the columns that you'll see on amateurradio.com.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't really have a favorite. I mean, they're all fantastic, and that's the amazing thing about ham radio, is the quality of the writing is something that has always amazed me. People like, you must know Kale, K4HCK. He writes a fantastic roundup each week of blog posts, Ham Radio Weekly, and he shares that with us, and we transmit that out in our newsletter. He does a fantastic job. I think that we've lost a lot of valuable publications. 73, for whatever you think of the publication, I think really was a great contribution to our hobby. And so I feel like we've had some consolidation of that, and these extra outlets for those voices have been something that I think that the ham radio community needed, and I'm hoping that we provide some of that.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned 73, because in the last couple of weeks we've been going through, a couple of us have been going through the 73 magazine archive and trying to dig up. We were actually looking for some prices of some equipment from way back when to see,
right,
what it was actually going for, and we never did find it. But it was kind of cool to go back through and see some of the, the old stuff. Oh, I used to have one of those, and some of the pictures that Wayne put on the cover to grab attention was kind of unusual. A lady in a swimsuit holding a handheld next to a pool was one.
Never
I remember.
say die.
Yes, never say die. And so then I started going over to some other magazines trying to find this information that I was looking for. Ham Radio Horizons, which was kind of the one for the newcomers from ham radio. And those were published up in your area. And so, those have gone away as well, which you got to be an old geezer like me, I guess, to remember those. But, there was the W5YI report. There was, several other magazines, and now, mainstream, we're looking at CQ and Q Street. So, it is, a situation where we've got less printed publications, but yet with the internet and all the blogging and podcasting and all these new outlets, that there's all kinds of stuff out there.
You do see, I remember great magazines, not particularly ham-related, but like Monitoring Times, the Grove Enterprise magazine. Mm-hmm. That has kind of had a reincarnation in a way with the Spectrum Monitor, and those were valuable publications, and I think it's sad that maybe the heyday of that sort of publication was behind us, and maybe in favor of some maybe more loosely organized writing. And I think that again was kind of the impetus for trying to organize it a little more in one place with a little bit at least editorial direction. But the economics are hard, Neil. Honestly, you can't. Oh, yeah. I mean, this isn't my full-time job. I certainly do this as a labor of love, and it's something that takes a lot of time and effort. And I know with our site, with amateurradio.com, we don't have a system where someone has to log in to comment. It's been very much a place where people are respectful, and there's not a lot of shouting back and forth that you see on so many other of the forums. online, and it's been refreshing for me as someone that's had to manage it, and I hope it's also been refreshing for our readers.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of back and forth on another site that I know that's not necessarily totally news related or opinion related, but boy, there's some opinions on there. But yeah, that definitely is refreshing to see that. Well, I know you've got this passion for blogging, and like me, I've got the passion for radio, and so this is not my full-time job by any means, and I've been listening
ever since your first episode, ever since you had Dr. I think it was Scott Wright. I think you had as your one of your first guests at least, and I really enjoyed that interview. So I think you've managed to beat the odds of a lot of podcasts that kind of begin and fizzle out, and you've continued, and you must be up to well over 100 episodes, I would imagine, by now.
Yep, this is 116 now, and I remember you covering when we first announced that the show was coming out, and Dr. Scott Wright was my first interview by choice, and got to see him this weekend as well. But you do these things because you're passionate about them. You're interested in it. It's not a job where you're like, well, okay, I got to do this, to bring in the paycheck, because the paycheck's not there. Yes, thank goodness, exactly. So I know that you feel like the ham radio blogs are very important to ham radio, and they continue to grow in number and in breadth. So tell us a little bit about that, and how you feel about the importance of all of this. And then I know that another one of your things related to this is how to start up your own blog and how to contribute to that. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's really an unlimited number of reasons why someone would want to start a ham radio related blog. I mean, if you have a passion for a specific part of the hobby, and as we know, this hobby has an amazing amount of sub-interest and sub-interest below that. So there's no shortage of things to write about, for sure. I think a mistake some people make when they get into blogging, I think everyone has the long lost relative or a coworker who likes to post everything about what they've eaten and where they go and what they're wearing, and and no one really cares about your latest fantastic lunch, unfortunately. So I think that if I had to give one piece of advice for someone thinking about getting into blogging is it's good to have some focus and have a fairly specific point. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're doing summits on the air activations, or you maybe enjoy working QRP portable and you carry your gear on hikes and you operate there. People with similar interests, I think, are going to be interested and follow your stuff.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot out there, and then you're trying to kind of compile all of that to put it all into one place.
Kind of on a related note, Neil, I think I'm pretty intrigued by your topic next week, Walmart parking lots on the air. And my goodness. That sounds like a must-listen episode if I've ever heard one, because that sounds fascinating.
The whole Walmart parking lot on the air thing has just been a conversation on Twitter that just took off. And I'm just getting started into satellites for real. Now, I've done a couple of satellite contacts here and there, but I'm just starting out. I bought my Arrow at Dayton this year, so I've been doing a lot of the satellite just from school,
Right.
on a vertical, or actually in the car. I've done some mobile ones, just in the car with my standard mobile antenna.
It's a lot of fun.
And it is. It's a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying it. But the Walmart parking lots on the air thing just kind of made me want to go out and okay, here is a day and a time. Here's a purpose. That's when I went out and started getting portable and getting on the air. You know, I might listen while I'm driving, and yeah, okay, once in a while I, pull over and make a contact or two. But now it's like, okay, I got to go out there and activate it. And it's stuff like this that, is like, okay, let's have some fun with this. Let's do something that will create some interest.
Exactly. I think that's, I think SOTA sounds fantastic. I haven't been involved with that, but it sounds like a lot of fun. But with this, it seems to have the added, not to mention it's easy to get to a Walmart parking lot, much more so than maybe a 8,000-foot mountain summit, certainly. But you can add that component of sharing the hobby with the public, and Lord knows there are a lot of people at a Walmart parking lot. So I can only imagine the kind of gawking interest you'd get from passerbys.
Yeah, they did, and when they had the one where you actually operated from a shopping cart, that drew some attention. So things like this, you blog about them. You put stuff out there. You put the pictures out there. You put the information out there and share it with people so that they know what's going on, and ideas like this catch on. And exactly. Before all the social media and blogging and all this kind of stuff, I'm not sure that kind of an event would have happened.
Yeah, exactly. And people like to be entertained, and they enjoy reading about other people's adventures, and getting ideas about their own adventures, for sure. So if we've got another Walmart parking lots on the air coming up in July. So are we going to read about this on the blog? I hope so. And I may have to outfit my own shopping cart and have to activate my nearby Walmarts as well. We can talk a little bit about kind of some nitty-gritty, some specifics about how you might get a blog kind of online for someone that might not know much about that. Sure.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about getting your own started. And also one thing, what about submitting it for your site once you do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's, I certainly think that getting started, there's a couple ways to go about it. I think that the first thing you've got to decide is, do you want to kind of submit your articles or your posts to a place like amateurradio.com, or do you want to have your own WordPress blog? And I would encourage people to have their own place, have their own home online, instead of writing on Facebook or writing on some of the other. There are some other ham radio related sites out there that will take some of your submissions. So I would encourage you to have a library, a place where you can kind of consolidate your posts. And then, if you have something that someone's interested in, kind of share those things maybe to a wider audience through either our site or some of the others. Pretty much WordPress, you probably have heard of that, and probably most people that listen to this have heard of WordPress. WordPress is kind of the de facto standard for blogging. And it's been that way for quite a long time. They've not been dethroned as kind of the blogging platform. You kind of have two choices. You can host your own WordPress software on your own server, or you can use WordPress.com will do that for you. And there's some advantages and disadvantages to both. The cost is going to be roughly the same. Everyone's going to want to take their piece from you for the server space, but whether you host it yourself and kind of have more customization options, more control, but maybe some more headaches as far as doing updates and patches, or you maybe give up some of that control and let WordPress.com do it. That's kind of up to you. Either way, I think it's important right off the bat when someone gets started in blogging to have your own domain name, your own .com or .org. And often people will choose their call sign, especially if it's a call sign you intend to hang on to for a while. And that kind of gives you something that people can identify with, and it helps with search engines and that sort of thing. So I would highly recommend you start right away and get your own domain name and start blogging kind of under your own identity.
Very good. And then there are some other ones out there that you can use that are free, but maybe don't have the same customization options and some of the more advanced features.
Yeah, that is true. And sometimes I think that I've noticed people start off with the free option and kind of end up wishing they had spent a little bit more and gone with their own kind of their own domain, maybe their own hosting. And I think that you've got to kind of decide, is this something that you are going to give some effort to and it's worth $3 or $4 a month in hosting to do? I would say that probably if you're willing to invest $5 a month in the whole endeavor, maybe it's not worth getting into, because I think that you're going to spend a lot of time and effort creating those posts and that content. You might as well have a place that it looks professional, and I guess it probably is a juxtaposition when you say professional in amateur radio, but you do certainly want it to look somewhat presentable.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we'll talk some more with Matt, and we'll give you a chance to call in or tweet in and ask some questions with W1MST from amateurradio.com. And we'll come back after this word from the National Voice of America Museum of Broadcasting and Amateur Radio Newsline right here on Ham Talk Live.
The National Voice of America Museum of Broadcasting, located in Westchester, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati, is only 2 minutes off I-75. The museum is the former home of the Voice of America Bethany Relay Station. Tours are now available every Saturday and Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You can see the control room, a 200,000-watt transmitter, and the most comprehensive collection of inventions by the iconic Powell Crosley Jr. Also on display is a huge antique radio exhibit and R.L. Drake's personal collection of most every Drake amateur rig ever made. This is a unique opportunity to see amateur radio in action and have a chance to get on the air from WC8 VOA. Admission is only $5 a person. The museum is located close to historic WLW-AM and tons of shopping and restaurants. Take a trip to the VOA Museum or visit us online at voamuseum.org.
Nominations are now open for the Amateur Radio Newsline Bill Pasternak WA6ITF Young Ham of the Year Award. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. Since 1986, we've had the honor of celebrating the accomplishments of youth in ham radio, and we want to know about your exceptional young ham. You'll find the rules and a nominating form by clicking the YHOTY tab on arnewsline.org. Fill it out, send it in, and we'll see you and an amazing young ham at the Huntsville, Alabama Ham Fest in August. Thanks, and 73 from Amateur Radio Newsline.
Oh, baby, you put a 5-9 in my logbook. Now enjoy more Ham Talk Live.
Ham Talk Live's on the air every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern right here at hamtalklive.com. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And it's time for your calls now. So if you have a question for Matt, give us a call at 812-NET-HAM1, 812-638-4261. Or you can Skype us your question. You can give us a call with Skype at Ham Talk Live, or you can tweet us at Ham Talk Live. We'll check that here as fact as we speak. And, we have a tweet here from another editor, the one that I work with commonly, and that's Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT from Amateur Radio Newsline, and she says, Matt, you got to make that long drive next year, but meanwhile, please give your thoughts on embedded multimedia content in blogs. So MP3s, photo carousels, video clips, that kind of thing.
Well, I'm kind of old school in the sense, and way old school, because it seems like for a while there was lots of autoplay, audio and video, and those sorts of things have come out of favor. I think, in fact, Chrome and other web browsers were starting to maybe kind of shut those things off, the videos that automatically play. I think everyone's been to a news site. News sites are especially guilty of auto playing their video, and it can sometimes be pretty annoying. So I like to kind of control that myself and decide when I want to see that. The other thing that's been big lately, especially, are ad blockers, and these ad blockers that people install as extensions to their browsers are great in a lot of ways, but they tend to kind of cast a wide net with some of these multimedia components, and sometimes they'll cause them to malfunction or break or maybe disable them altogether. I think that certainly the web has become much more multimedia. Certainly, I know with your show, Neil, it's available across a wide variety of platforms, most of which, including YouTube and SoundCloud and all those, you can embed into a website. And I think it's neat that you could do that. I do think, however, you can go overboard and kind of make things a little too entertaining, a little too busy. And I think that's what you have to try to avoid doing.
Yeah, that, in fact, when I worked on a doctorate, and maybe one day I'll get to finish it, it was on cognitive load theory and how textbooks will overload you with information. It's like, you're reading along, and then there's this picture over here and this little caption over here and this special over here, and it's like, it's overload, but yet you don't want line after line after line after line after line after line after line of flat text either, and so there's a balance there.
It's so true. I was working on a learning management system, which is kind of technical jargon for kind of online course software, and the psychology behind those systems and how they present information is something that I had no appreciation for. For example, whether or not you should display the text of what you're also narrating and that sort of thing to encourage learning. And it's pretty complicated. And it's really an amazing science.
One of my favorite things that I use in my class to demonstrate some of this stuff is a comedian by the name of Don McMillan. He's an engineer. He's a former IBM computer engineer, and he actually has nerd comedy. and he has this thing. His big claim to fame is this life after death by PowerPoint. and he has this video, and instead of going on about, okay, now you need to make sure that you've got good contrast and you don't have, all these spinny things and all these busy backgrounds and everything, instead of doing that, I show this 10-minute clip on YouTube from him that shows exactly what not to do. And why you don't do it. So he's got these graphs and charts and spinning texts and written every word out so that you have to go through like 5 slides to get through one thought and it's just total overload. And I really like Don McMillan's thing. He has all these even font analysis. What font makes you, what does that font say about you? And there's a lot of that stuff out there that just it just goes crazy, and you get too many of the big thing a long time ago were those animated GIFs on web pages.
And now they're back, it seems, as in texting and that sort of thing. It seems like everyone's sending animated GIFs again. And I appreciate that you do call them GIFs, not GIFs, Neil.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, they work well in conversations and stuff, so they've kind of made the comeback there. But on the web page, it's like you had to put 20 animations on your website, and it's like, it's overload, in a conversation and in a vertical sense, it works. But when you, one of the most popular websites back in the day was Hamster Dance. And that's all it was a whole bunch of animated GIFs in a line spinning around with hamsters.
Well, they're entertaining, I guess.
And that's kind of appropriate with Karen being the hamster guru. So I guess maybe she enjoyed the hamster dance. But yes, thank you, Karen, for writing in and asking that, because that's a very valid point.
We got a bit off topic, though. I feel bad.
Well, that happens. But I'm gonna bring it back around again. So we've been talking about how to start up your blog, and the next thing on the agenda was do's and don'ts. So we actually kind of got there.
Yeah, absolutely. I put together a web page or a video for folks to kind of give them an idea of how to start up a blog, and it's at amateurradio.com/hamtalklive, one word. So if people want to kind of get some more information about how they can do that step by step, they can go to that. I'll say that one more time, amateurradio.com/hamtalklive.
And we will post a link to that on our social media, so you can find that, as well as my desk wrapped in saran wrap that you noticed earlier today.
I think that if you haven't been to Neil's Twitter feed, I'm not sure, maybe it's posted in other places, you do need to see that they have wrapped, no pun intended, wrapped his desk in saran wrap. So it's definitely worth checking out. The two things I think, and we've covered them a little bit, the two things I think that are the biggest mistakes, the biggest pitfalls, again, are the lack of focus and not having a regular schedule, not kind of deciding that I'm going to get on this blog and I'm going to write once a week, once a month, whatever it is, to kind of establish a schedule where you kind of expect from yourself that you're going to write. Because if you don't, you'll kind of end up putting it off, and then eventually you'll join the ranks of probably a million other blogs that have been kind of left to languish. And I think if you start off thinking about something you're really interested in writing about, and you set a schedule and you stick to it, I think that the blog will get traction You'll get interaction with readers, and it'll become more fulfilling. But it does, I'm sure that you experienced it a little bit too, Neil. When you first started, you probably felt like you were talking to an echo chamber until your podcast got some real traction. And it's the same thing with any blog or any site on the internet, for sure. That until we didn't wake up with 15,000 social media followers and 7,000 newsletter subscribers. I mean, it took a lot of time to get that traction to be able to do that. So stick with it. If it's something you're passionate about and interested in, stick with it until it succeeds.
812-638-4261 is the phone number if you have a question or a comment for Matt, W1MST from amateurradio.com. And you can give us a call, or you can tweet us at hamtalklive as well. So if somebody wants to submit something for amateurradio.com, how would they go about doing that?
They just send me an email. My email is editor@amateurradio.com, and we can have a conversation and talk about what they're writing. And we're very appreciative of people that want to submit things. I've been incredibly impressed by the generosity and the caliber of the things people write, and we are more than happy to use. It's not a giant voice, certainly, but it's a reasonably good sized voice, and to help you kind of get some traction and maybe decide if this is something that you want to do more of. So if you want to send us an article and have us take a look and consider publishing it, we'd be really happy to do that, and hopefully give you some feedback and some sense of whether it's something that people might want to hear more about.
All right. Well, we're going to take one last call here for Matt, W1MST. If you want to chime in, now's the time. 812-NET-HAM1, 812-638-4261, or tweet us at hamtalklive. So you were talking a bit about the WordPress and setting up things, and we went to break. Was there anything else that you wanted to add in on the, how to set up and how to go about those things?
Yeah. So it's actually, I don't want to make it sound overly complicated. It's actually pretty easy to set up. But I think that, like I said, not kind of starting off with your own identity, your own .com is probably something you'll regret later. To have to it's kind of like, trying to think of a good example, kind of like having to reprint your business cards when you change your phone number. It's if you start off with kind of the information that you think you'll have long term, you'll be happier that everyone will have their links pointed correctly and that sort of thing, so you won't have to change it all later. Even if you did have a free blogging solution and you had your .com, whether it's your call sign or whatever you choose, point forward to that. That at least kind of gets you started in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we've done here.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Is got it, because Spreaker has this all automated and everything website, but the URL is just ridiculous. So we set up hamtalklive.com just to go to there, and it may change at some point. We may get more into it, but at least that again gives an easy place to go to that's always going to be the same address.
Yeah, absolutely. I also wanted to mention, too, that if someone was interested in signing up for our daily or weekly amateurradio.com newsletter, we do some frequent giveaways. About a month ago, we gave away 50 New Elect software-defined SDR radios. And those are pretty cool little gadgets. I don't know if you've played around with those little USB dongles there that they sell, mm-hmm. but they're pretty amazing and great. Great to get people into thinking about the hobby for really not a lot of money. So that sort of thing is a lot of fun. And, you know, when you only have 1,000 entrants and you give away 50 radios, your chances of winning are pretty good. So that was a worldwide promotion, which is a lot of fun too. And that's another thing about our hobby that I think is so fantastic is the bridging between so many different cultures and so many different countries and so many different people. And it's just an amazing hobby, Neil.
Yeah, it certainly is, and you've got some good stuff there. So again, if you're interested in the newsletter from amateurradio.com, just sign up for that, and then you may win something too.
I hope.
Yeah, we have we have another antenna we're going to be giving away. I brought home from Dayton, so we'll be releasing the details.
No sneak previews.
No sneak previews, but we have an antenna we're going to be giving away. It's right here. It's right here. So we'll be doing that here soon. So, well, Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. Thank you for what you do at amateurradio.com, and we'll look forward to speaking with you again, and hope to catch you at Hamvention one of these days.
I absolutely hope that, and I hope I meet. What was the name again of your character that's running around?
Hammy.
I hope I get to meet Hammy
yes,
at next year's Hamvention. So thank you so much, Neil, for having me.
Yep. All right, that's a wrap for this week's edition of Ham Talk Live. Thanks to Matt Thomas, W1MST, and everybody out there in cyberspace for listening and tweeting in, and invite you back next Thursday night, as Matt said, at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. It's the full-length Walmart Parking Lots on the Air show. Adam Whitney, K0FFY, will be here, as well as a couple of the others that helped put that together for real, as opposed to just a silly idea running around. And so we're going to talk about how it went, and the next one coming up July 2nd, Walmart's birthday and World UFO Day. Coincidence? Maybe. So we'll talk about that. So don't miss that next week. And for a list of all of our upcoming guests, just go to hamtalklive.com. And if you would, please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen. We're trying to build that up a little bit and get it to where we're a little easier to find. So if you would leave us a review, we would appreciate that. So for now, this is Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, saying 7375, and may the good DX be yours.